Auto rifles have slowly, and boy do I mean slowly, been getting buffed ever since they were neutered in year 1. Well, seeing as how we finally had the last live team patch, I think it's time to give a tier list for all auto rifles in both PvP and PvE. Let's get started with the easiest, PvE. I will not be including the adept primaries from the raid challenge modes, since those are the exact same as their legendary counterparts, but with an elemental burn. Starting off at number 7 in PvE, we have the Kvostov. It's truly a jack-of-all-trades, master of none. Even though its damage output is good and it's easy to control, it just doesn't bring anything else to the table. If you have a gun that's taking up your exotic slot, it needs to offer up some sort of utility for you. Most legendary primaries have something like Firefly or Crowd Control, but Kvostov has a laundry list of perks that all read, do roughly the same damage in different ways. At number 6, we have Hard Light. I actually think the overpenetrating ricochet rounds that also don't have any significant fall-off damage is a fantastic perk for PvE. The only real problem is that the sights shake around way too much when shooting. All of this footage is with the absolute highest stability, so it isn't because of how I spec the weapon. It just has an obnoxiously high amount of screen shake. I suppose that's supposed to balance out the overpenetrating rounds, but it just always seemed so severe to me. It's a shame because the sights of the weapon are extremely open and clear, and the utility of the rounds does make for a fantastic weapon in PvE. The weapons from rank 5 to 2 are all very, very close in my opinion, so your personal rankings may be a little bit different from mine. The 5th place is taken by Suros Regime. This gun actually has a surprising amount of utility once you really start using it. There's the obvious glass half full type perk that causes you to slowly ramp up the damage in each magazine. It incentivizes you to use every single round to its full potential. Also, there's health regeneration, which causes you to start regenerating your health, not just a static value of health like some of the other perks now. In addition, it has the 2 differing modes of fire. Spinning up is probably the least viable mode in PvE since you end up burning through all of your ammunition. It does make for some incredible damage output though. The slower firing mode is probably the best for PvE since it makes the damage consistent as well as making the weapon easier to control. Surprisingly, Fabian's strategy is at number 4 for me. This gun used to be laughably bad due to its recoil, but after some buffs, it can now be used like a normal weapon. This means you can take advantage of the crowd control perk, which will make short work of multiple enemies chained together, and you can get a little bit of ammo back for every kill, which again is kind of amazing when killing hordes and hordes of enemies. The gun will also swap to the fastest rate of fire archetype when enemies are close, which isn't really a good or bad thing. It's just different. The combination of crowd control and ammo back from your kills does make this a fantastic weapon for general strike usage though. Number 3 on the list is the Monte Carlo. This is one of those weapons that's the absolute best at what it does. It allows you to go all in on a melee base spec and provide your group with pretty good utility depending on your melee ability. So if that sounds like a cool idea to you, then Monte Carlo is probably your favorite weapon. However, for general use, it doesn't really offer up much else aside from a slight damage bump with aggressive ballistics. The 2nd place slot is taken by Necrochasm. Stat-wise, this is just a fairly regular high rate of fire auto rifle, but the recent update made its Cursebringer perk proc on any kill, not just precision. So now almost everything explodes when you kill it. The explosion does a decent amount of damage as well, so you can quickly destroy any group of enemies that are packed tightly together. Finally, the number 1 auto rifle for PvE and arguably one of the best primaries ever designed for PvE goes to Zalo Supercell. This really isn't any contest here. This weapon basically does everything from every weapon on the list. It has an area of effect damage ability similar to Necrochasm. It constantly regains ammo just like Fabian's strategy, and it even regenerates your super faster. If you run strikes or anything that has lots of enemies together, Zalo Supercell is simply the best weapon. It does everything you could ever want a primary to do for you in PvE. Now to swap over to PvP, at the bottom of the list we have Hard Light. It's no surprise that a gun with horrible screen shake is at the bottom of the list for PvP. One of the things you really want in PvP is consistency. Your screen shaking around a bunch makes that difficult. I know it's fun to occasionally get a ricochet kill with this gun, but it's just not worth it. Number 6, a far place from where it is on the PvE rankings, is Zalo. One thing I didn't mention in the PvE section is that this gun does have quite a nasty recoil to it. In PvE, that doesn't matter quite as much, especially when you have so many other benefits to the weapon. But in PvP, I feel like this just gets in the way. It should be noted that the AoE damage is rather substantial in PvP, not enough to outweigh the weird recoil though. At number 5 on the list is the Titan exclusive Fabian strategy. Now that the recoil is a little bit easier to manage, this gun actually fits nicely into the PvP landscape. The faster rate of fire auto rifles tend to work a little bit better in PvP, and this one has both of those archetypes baked into one gun. Plus, crowd control on any weapon in PvP is a huge boon. Number 4 is the Suros regime, specifically the spinning up mode. In PvP, chances are you're going to be laying down some covering fire and will take advantage of that extremely fast time to kill. This definitely feels like a 1v1 gun though. Spinning up will eat through your magazine, and unless enemies are just perfectly lined up for you, you won't really be getting a lot of double kills. The health regen is also a great addition to the weapon and will come in handy in almost every single firefight due to the prevalence of hand cannons. At number 3, we have the Monte Carlo. A spec where you want your melee up often is obviously going to take advantage of this weapon, but this gun is also extremely consistent with its recoil and damage, keeping your sights, which are extremely opened and easy to see through by the way, on your target will not be an issue with this gun. At number 2 is Necrochasm. Similar to Monte Carlo, this gun takes its spot because it's so damn easy to control. The combination of CQB ballistics, Zen moment, and fitted stock make this auto rifle a dream to shoot. It has an overall very snappy feel to it, which is what you want on basically any PvP primary. The explosion is also something to consider since it does 79 damage if someone is close to it. In the right circumstance, you can easily take out 2 to 3 people with a single magazine due to that extra damage from the Curse Thrall explosions. The best of the auto rifles to use in PvP is actually going to be the Kvastov in my opinion, specifically when using the 900 rounds per minute, counterbalance, and braced frame modes. This effectively allows you to get a Doctrine of Passing God roll on it. Remember when I was going over Hardlight how I said consistency is what you want from a weapon in PvP? Well, that specific build of the Kvastov has it in spades. Its recoil is almost non-existent, so funneling shots into people's heads even at the most extreme ranges is just simple. Sometimes you don't need utility on a weapon, you just need it to put bullets where you need them to go effortlessly. And that about does it for the tier listings for auto rifles. If you have a different list, feel free to post it in the comments. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see you next time.